My husband, Nathan, and I are newlyweds. We were so excited to start our new chapter in life. After our wedding, we began to search for a new home in St. Paul, Minnesota, since we had to relocate for Nathan's new job position. We also didn't want to move into our new home in the bad Minnesota winter. We've been told that Minnesota is one of the worst winter states. Nathan gave me the task of finding a home for us, and he'll take care of everything else. I didn't focus on what would make a perfect home because I knew it wasn't going to be our forever home. After weeks of waiting for responses to the houses I've found, we received a call stating that we have been approved and we're given our move-in date. Nathan and I jumped for joy and immediately began packing. I was so glad our move-in date was a whole month and a half before December. That way, we can settle without worrying about the snow. As we said goodbye to our home in Kansas, we began venturing our way up to Minnesota. We finally arrived at our new house, and it looked better in person. It was a charming old house with history and character. We both knew that this felt like home already. Nathan's new position is third shift, so that meant I was home alone in the night when he'd leave to work. We decorated the house into our home, so I wasn't afraid to be alone. Most nights, I kept waking up to the sound of wood creaking. I could tell it was coming from the basement, which I thought was odd. Usually it's ceilings. I didn't think much of it because it was an old house after all. After many nights of being woken up to the sound of wood creaking in the basement, I told Nathan on his day off to check the basement where the noise was coming from. He went to check it out, and the noise seemed to come from the basement ceiling. The basement was unfinished with wooden frames all over the walls and ceilings, but at least we concluded it was nothing but an old house being an old house. It was another night again that I was awoken by the same noise. I turned to Nathan and tapped him to wake up because he was going to be late for work. I went to use the bathroom. I came out and the bed was empty. I called out to Nathan, but he didn't answer. I walked out of the bedroom and all the lights in the house were off. He must have left for work while I was in the bathroom, so I walked back to our room. As I approached the bed, the digital clock on our desk read 1:32 a.m. Immediately, I got chills. Nathan works at 12. Suddenly, there were groans coming from the living room. I turned and looked behind me. At the end of the hallway, there was a head abnormally extended out, looking at me. I freaked out and shut the door. I jumped under the covers and forced myself to sleep. Nathan finally came home and woke me up. I told him everything I saw and happened, and he laughed it off, saying I was half asleep, so I'm just imagining all of it. He told me not to worry. I felt better after he said that. Maybe I was just imagining all of it. Later that night, as it was getting close to bedtime again, Nathan had already gone to bed while I was watching Netflix on TV. I heard the wood creaking in the basement. I focused on the sound of it. Then the groans from the night before arose from the basement this time. I rushed to Nathan and woke him up that someone is in our home, and it's the same noise I heard from the night before. He woke up and grabbed his handgun. He told me to stay in the room while he checks it out. After a few minutes, he came back and said there is nothing down there and to go to bed with him. The entire night I could not sleep. Every so often those noises kept occurring. I was relieved when the alarm went off. I told Nathan that I kept hearing those noises throughout the entire night. He became annoyed and told me to stop talking crazy. There's no such thing as ghosts or supernatural things. He stormed out of the bed and got ready for work. From that day on, I did my best to ignore those sounds and not bring it up to him anymore. Night after night, I was afraid because even my husband didn't believe me. I felt so alone and scared. Winter made an appearance. The night came quicker and lasted longer. I was on high alert even more now. Nathan left for work, leaving me to fight the night. I felt, whatever it was, it knew I was very afraid of it. It had nothing to worry about because I was so helpless. I was alone. The moment Nathan drove off, the sounds grew louder coming up the basement stairs. It was now or never, and I jumped out of bed and ran for the front door. As I closed the door behind me, I saw a glimpse of the dark figure coming up from the basement. It had the body of a person, but the neck was long and broken, hanging off the shoulder. I got into my car and drove off into the freezing night and stopped at the nearest holiday gas station. I called my husband, crying to him that I will not enter that house ever again. I told him we must find another place. I haven't gotten any sleep, and my own house doesn't feel like a home. He took the day off and we started looking for a new house. This time we made sure we knew the history of the house. As for the old house, I dug deep and found an article. The authorities found a man who hung himself in the basement from a wooden pillar. I tried to forget everything about that house, but it was our first home in Minnesota. Thank you for watching. If you were spooked by this story, leaving a like, comment, and subscribing means a ton to me.